ओम ज्ञानतिमिरान्धस्य ज्ञानञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मीलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। नमः विष्णुपादाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्त स्वामिनिति नामिने। नमस्ते सारस्वती देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्यदेशतारिणे नित्यानंद नमस्तुभ्यं प्रेमानंदप्रदायिने कलौ कल्मषनाशाय जानवापतये नमः। नमो महावदन्याय कृष्णप्रेमप्रदायते कृष्णाय कृष्णचैतन्य नाम्ने गौरतुसे नमः। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंदा। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। Hare Krishna. So we welcome everyone for today's discussion on Srimad Bhagavad Gita. So we are discussing from chapter 2, and this is and only Bhagavad Gita chapter 2 and verse number. Where is chapter 2? Bhagavad Gita 2.38 we discussed last time. सुख दुखे सम्मे कृत्वा लाभ लाभो जया जय ततो युद्धाय युज्यस्व एवं पापम अवाप्स्यसि. So this is Bhagavad Gita chapter 2, verse number 38. So do thou fight for the sake of fighting, without considering happiness or distress, loss or gain, victory or defeat, and by so doing you shall never incur sin. So this second section, the first, when Krishna started speaking knowledge of Bhagavad Gita to Arjuna, first of all, Krishna spoke about science of self, science of soul, from verse number 11 to verse number 30. And in this way, he destroyed the attachment which was generated in Arjuna's mind because of bodily consciousness. And then that was Arjuna's first reason why he doesn't want to fight. And the second reason Arjuna gave, that if we fight, if we kill our own relatives for the sake of worldly kingdom, so we will incur sin. So this Krishna this destroyed this reason, counter this reason by speaking Kshatriya Dharma in this section from verse number 31 to 38 number verse. So this is the last verse of this particular section where Krishna was speaking about Kshatriya Dharma. So even considering Arjuna to be a Kshatriya, so it was his duty to fight for the purpose of establishing Dharma. And for the sake of establishing Dharma and for the sake of executing his Kshatriya Dharma, still he should not maintain the material attachment. So one important lesson we learn in this connection is that not only for spiritual progress, spiritual advancement, one requires to detach himself from material attachment. That means material attachments of any kind is an obstacle for a person who desires to make a spiritual advancement. But apart from this, spiritual advancement, spiritual life, even for proper material life also, one has to detach himself from material attachments. If material attachment becomes an obstacle, even for the advancement of material life also, proper material life advancement, if somebody wants, he has to get rid of material attachments, especially attachments for sense gratification. So as a Kshatriya dharma is a material dharma, material duty. And if anybody follows his material duties properly, then he gets a good facility for living happily in this material world. So that is the result of executing material duties properly. And material duties are also enjoined in the scriptures in terms of varna and ashram. Different varna and different ashram one may be belonging. If somebody is a Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra. So this Brahman, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra, this is also material designation. This is also not our original identity. Our original identity is that we are spirit soul, eternal servant of the Supreme Lord Krishna, and we have nothing to do with anything else. But as long as one is in bodily consciousness, that means one considers himself to be this material body. So, in order to progress ahead, he has to execute certain kind of material duties also based on his varna, Brahman, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra, and Ashram, Brahmachari, Grahastha, Vanaprastha. So, considering his material duty also, Arjuna has to give up material attachment. Not only these material duties in terms of one and ashram prescribed in the scriptures, but even in modern times, where most of the population they do not at all consider their duties in terms of scriptural prescriptions. They have abandoned all the rules and regulations, all the prescriptions given by the Vedic literatures, and everyone just independently wants to become happy. So even if somebody desires to independently become happy in this material world, still in that case also one has to give up material attachments. Otherwise, he cannot live happily in this material. Yeah. Just like for example, if somebody desires to have a good career in his life, so then he has to give up his attachment for family relatives. He has to go out of home and prepare nicely for examination for his career. And if somebody wants to make his good job, a good career in his job or business, he has to leave his material attachments. He has to go out. So even in the situation where one wants to independently, without referring to scriptures, without following the path of dharma, if somebody wants to become happy in this world, still he has to give up material attachment. So these attachments for material things, material people, places, and situations, it is always undesirable. It is always undesirable. So that's why Krishna is focusing from all sides that Arjuna, you should give up this material attachment with regards to this material body. The first and foremost teaching he gave that you are not this body, you are a spirit soul. So then also you should give up material attachments and work for the spirit soul. And secondly, he said, okay, even if you consider yourself to be this material body, but if you at all desire to become happy in this world, materially also, if you want to become happy, then also you should execute your material dharma, giving up your material attachments. Then you can become happy. So this in these two sections, these two different ways, Krishna explained to Arjuna. And finally, Krishna says, कि without being attached to sukha or dukha, sukha dukha समय कृत्वा, लाभ लाभो जया जय, profit and loss, victory and defeat. So without getting attached to all these things, giving up all these attachments, tato yuddhaya yujasva, you simply fight for the sake of fighting. Then na evam papam avasya, see, you will not get the sinful reaction. So last time we discussed this. So Krishna conscious devotee, Krishna conscious, one who is a devotee of the Supreme Lord, who is fully Krishna conscious, so automatically he follows these principles. He does not have to separately endeavor. All the moral principles, moral values, all the good instructions, even at material levels, are automatically followed by a Krishna conscious devotee. Because he, just like this particular verse, Sukha Dukkha Samaya Kritva, because a Krishna conscious devotee, his only concern is how Krishna can be made happy. So because his concern is how to please the Supreme Lord, and he acts to make Krishna satisfied and happy. So that's why he does not consider his material happiness and distress uh, so important. Similarly, profit and loss, labh, alabh, jaya, ajay, success and failure, it does not matter for him. So a Krishna conscious devotee is already he 24 hours he acts on this platform. But those who are not Krishna conscious, so considering their material well-being, they have to also act in terms of this particular verse. In this way, Krishna explained in second two ways why Arjuna should give up material attachments. And spiritually also, Arjuna should give up material attachments because considering oneself to be this, spirit soul, one should act on a spiritual platform. And considering oneself to be Kshatriya, Arjuna, if consider himself to be Kshatriya, then also he should uh, act without attachment. Now, from today, the third section of the second chapter begins. This is the third section is uh, Buddhi Yoga, or Sankhya Yoga, Buddhi Yoga. Buddhi Yoga means Bhakti Yoga. The first section was acting on Brahman platform, which is known as Atma Vigyan, Atma Atma Vigyan. Second was acting on material platform, but in terms of prescriptions given by the scriptures. So that was Varnashram Dharma, Brahma Atma Dharma. Then second is Varnashram Dharma. Now Krishna finally gives the ultimate Dharma, which is Buddhi Yoga or Bhakti Yoga. So this we'll discuss from this section onward. From verse number 39 till verse number 53, Krishna will uh, discuss about Buddhi Yoga. Means Arjuna should fight, giving up all material attachments, considering himself to be an eternal part and parcel servant of the Supreme Lord. That is Buddhi Yoga, or Bhakti Yoga. So in three ways, or we can say in three different platforms, Krishna is convincing Arjuna that he should fight and he should give up his attachment for his friends and relatives. So, in whatever way Arjuna considers, he should not maintain material attachment. Similarly, in our life also, whether we consider material success, material life, or spiritual life, in both the ways, we should give up material attachments and work without being attached to the result in order to get material or spiritual success. So in this verse, Krishna says, Esate abhita sankhya buddhiryoge tu imam srunu buddhaya yukto yaya partha karma bandham prahasyasya. Right, my dear Arjuna, thus far I have described this knowledge to you through analytical study, Sankhya Yoga. Sankhya Yoga. Now listen as I explain it in terms of working without furtive results. O son of Pritha, when you act in such knowledge, you can free yourself from the bondage of works. So working without furtive results, this state of consciousness is the beginning of Bhakti Yoga, or it has been analyzed, or it has been characterized as Karma Yoga. So this yoga or Bhakti Yoga is compared with a ladder. So the first step of this ladder is Bhakti Yoga. The first step of Bhakti Yoga is Karma Yoga, which means working without fruitive results, without considering about the results, what one will get when one works. Uh, so that is the beginning of Karma Yoga, but exactly it is not Karma Yoga. Exactly, it becomes Karma Yoga when one works without the fruitive results, but one does not abandon also the fruitive result. One does not abandon the results, rather he dedicates his results of work to the Supreme Lord. Then it becomes complete Karma Yoga, which will be explained in third chapter, because Arjuna will not be able to understand properly this section. So Arjuna will ask the question, and then Krishna will explain the same thing in more detail in third chapter, but we'll try to understand. And so Esate Abhita Sankhya, Krishna is saying, all this and Te Abhita I have described. Sankhya means analytical study of soul and body. Now, Arjuna, you should listen about buddhi yoga and work without fruitive results. Temam shunu and buddhaya yukto yaya partha. When one's intelligence is dovetailed like this, if one uses his buddhi or intelligence in order to become free from the fruitive results while performing activities, if one can give up the mental. So when one performs activities, if he can give up the mentality of uh, being an enjoyer, then the platform of buddhi yoga begins, and from there, bhakti yoga, first step of bhakti yoga, a chapter begins, known as karma yoga. So Krishna is now going to teach this particular yoga to Arjuna, buddhi yoga or bhakti yoga. So by acting like this, buddhaya yukto yaya partha, by acting like this, yaya means by this, partha usanapritha karma bandham prahasyasi. You will be released from karma bandham, bondage of reaction. This karma bandham, what does this mean, karma bandham? Karma bandham means everyone uh, in this material world acts according to his previous mentality, karma, attachment. So as long as one maintains even a slightest attachment for enjoying his result in this material world, then he is again forced to perform certain activities. And as soon as one performs certain activities, immediately, again, the reaction is generated. And along with the reaction, this attachment for enjoying the fruits is generated. And this way, a great cycle is run eternally. And the living entities are bound up, locked up within this cycle of birth and death. So this cycle of birth and death is actually nothing else but the cycle of performing karma and enjoying its results. And in this process, one develops various kinds of attachments. And because of those impressions generated within the mind because of attachments, one is forced again to act in a certain way to get the certain reactions to enjoy or suffer, and again develops further attachments, and those attachments creates impressions within the mind to force the living entity again to act in a certain fashion. So in this way, this goes on and on and on with no end at all. And the more one goes on in this cycle, so this cycle, the width of this cycle is increasing. Width means uh, the more one performs activities, the more one gets those reactions, and then he develops attachments, impressions. So those the layers of attachment or impressions are generated and are uh, stored within the consciousness. And so because we have been in this material world since time immemorial, nobody can calculate that how many births we have taken in this material existence. That's why within the core of our heart, within the mind, there are multiples, innumerable layers of material attachments are present, or impressions of enjoyment or suffering. Um, so because of those impressions or attachments, the person develops the raga and dvesha, attachment and hatredness for enjoyment and suffering. So this way, it becomes practically impossible for a conditioned living entity to become free from the cycle of performing actions and enjoying or suffering the reactions. And for that reason, he has to take birth again and again. So this is known as cycle of birth and death, which is known as bhava roga, bhava, bhava samsara, cycle of birth and death. So in order to stop that cycle of birth and death, one has to gradually remove those layers of material attachments. Uh, those layers of material attachments can be considered, it can be considered like files, different files of material attachments. So there are innumerable files are generated within the heart and which ordinarily cannot be killed or destroyed or deleted. Just like if there are viruses within the software within one's device, so viruses cannot be deleted simply by a delete button. Uh, Similarly, a person may endeavor a lot to become free from material attachments, which causes ones to suffer in this material world again and again. And not only that, those material attachments cause one to take birth again and again. So in this way, the living entity suffers uh, perpetually. The living entity suffers in this material existence. Eternal suffering is awaiting for the living entities, and that's why in the scriptures this term has been used, Nitya Baddha Jivatma. We are characterized, we are in the category of Nitya Baddha. Nitya Baddha means eternally conditioned to suffer in this material world eternally. And to take birth and death, the cycle of birth and death is an infinite loop from where a living entity cannot come out of it with his own endeavor, because he cannot just delete the files of material attachments. It's so dangerous virus. But these, if we have got very nice, powerful antivirus, then those files can be deleted, and that is spiritual. That antivirus is spiritual. So these material problems are because of material attachments, but it cannot be destroyed or it cannot have material solution. Material solutions cannot destroy or solve the material problems. Spiritual solutions are there. So specifically, this Maha mantra means man plus tra, which delivers the mind from negativity or material conditioning. That is called mantra. So Maha mantra means great deliverer of this mind, great deliverer of mind from negativity. This is Maha mantra. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. So, as we go on chanting this Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, so with the chanting of each syllable of this mantra, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. So with the each chanting, attentive chanting of Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, one by one, the files of material attachments are permanently deleted from our consciousness, mind, and then one becomes freed from entanglement. But the deletion of file of material attachments will only happen when you will select the file. Just like if you want to delete certain files, so you will have to select it, and then you push the button shift delete, then it is permanently deleted. Similarly, we have to select each and every files of material attachments. And then we have to chant Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Praying to Krishna, my dear Krishna, please delete this file of material attachment also, this attachment also, delete this file also. Then it is permanently deleted. Otherwise, if somebody is desiring to maintain the material attachment and is still chanting Hare Krishna Mantra, the slow process will be very slow. So, in this way, one can become free from the cycle of this karma bandham. So, buddhaya yukto yaya partha karma bandham prahasyasi. Prahasyasi means one can be prakrish rupena hasyasi. Prakrish rupena means completely. One can completely become free from karma bandham when one acts in the platform of Buddhi yoga. Buddhi yoga means linking one's intelligence with the Supreme Lord. That means acting according to the instructions or intelligence given by the Supreme Lord in his scriptures. That is known as Buddhi Yoga, and which is none other than Bhakti Yoga. So Buddhi Yoga or Bhakti Yoga is the same thing, same one and same thing. Because Buddhi Yoga means taking Buddhi or intelligence from the instructions of the Supreme Lord and then acting in one's life. Uh, So that Buddhi is to give up attachments for material things, material people, object, and to develop attachment for the Supreme Lord Krishna himself only. So that is Buddhist. When one acts in that platform, then the person is supposed to be acting in Buddhi Yoga platform. And at that time, this karma bandham prahasasi, the bondage of reaction is completely destroyed. One completely becomes released from this. So the purport is, a big purport is there. We'll read about this in the next chapter, next class tomorrow. So we'll stop here. Thank you very much. If any one of you is having any question, you can ask. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Yes, Ankita Mata ji.
हरे कृष्णा प्रभु, धन्यवाद प्रणाम।
Hare
प्रभु,
Krishna.
जैसे आपने बताया कि मटेरियल अटैचमेंट कॉजेज द मटेरियल प्रॉब्लम्स, राइट? तो मीन्स हमारा रूट कॉज वही है कि हम मटेरियल अटैचमेंट्स सबसे पहले खत्म करेंगे, तो अल्टीमेटली जितनी मटेरियल प्रॉब्लम्स है या तो वो स्पिरिचुअल में डेवलप हो जाएंगी, मतलब स्पिरिचुअल गुडनेस में डेवलप हो जाएंगी, या वो पूरी
Yes.
तरीके से खत्म
So
होंगी।
material,
हरे कृष्ण।
yes, material attachment has to be finished off before one can develop attachment for Krishna. But material attachments cannot be finished by one's own endeavor. So one has to attentively take shelter of Krishna's lotus feet by taking help or strength from the Supreme Lord with the desire to give up material attachments. Then one becomes free from material attachments. So our endeavor is to to be fully designed, to intensely desire to become free from attachments, material attachments, and to develop full attachment for Krishna. That is our one part of our effort. And another part of our effort is till the time we have material attachments, we should consciously avoid acting physically or practically to fulfill those attachments. And simultaneously, at the same time, we should go on uh, practicing our spiritual life sincerely. Then gradually those attachments are washed off and one develops full attachment for Krishna. This is the process known as Buddhi Yoga. Okay. Is any other question? Yes.
प्रभु, टेकिंग द शेल्टर ऑफ भगवान श्री कृष्ण लोटस फीट, what it simply means in a simple word for a new devotee. Hare Krishna.
Taking shelter of Krishna means acting in one's life according to the instructions given by the Supreme Lord in Bhagavad Gita. And for that matter, one has to thoroughly read, hear, or understand the teachings of Bhagavad Gita. So, accepting the instructions of the Supreme Lord and trying to act accordingly. And another meaning of taking shelter of Krishna means uh, to to call him for protection by chanting his holy name, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Because Krishna, being omnipotent, he is non-different from his holy name. So as soon as a devotee who is entangled in the affairs of material existence, if he prays to the Supreme Lord, he calls out the holy name of Krishna for his protection. So Krishna being omnipotent, he can fully present himself to protect such a devotee in the form of his holy name. So these two things has to be done in order to take shelter of Krishna's lotus feet. Okay, Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhu. Hare Krishna.